I'm sure you've heard me talk about 26shirts.com before, but just in case you haven't, let me fill you in. At 26 Shirts, they sell different limited edition sports-themed t-shirts every 2 weeks. After a shirt's prospective 2-week run is over, the design is retired and never sold again. They are operating out of Buffalo and now also offer options in Chicago. For every shirt sold, $8 is donated to a family in need. Not to a major charity or foundation, but to an actual family or individual in need. To show our support here at Chasing Cinema, when you buy a shirt, we will automatically put you into a drawing to win the next shirt free. That's right. You buy a shirt, $8 goes to help a family or individual in need, and you get a shot to win the next shirt absolutely free from Chasing Cinema. So go to www.26shirts.com and buy a unique Buffalo Sports Design t-shirt, help a great cause, and also get entered to win the next shirt absolutely free. Again, that's 26shirts.com, because you have the ability to help a complete stranger just because it's the right thing to do. www.26shirts.com. Help someone now. Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on iTunes so each week our brand new episode over here at Chasing Cinema automatically downloads to iTunes, and you can move it to your iPod, your iPhone, your iPad, whatever you may be listening to your podcasts on. Or if you're not an iTunes fan, just go to youtube.com/ChasingCinema, and our podcasts are always uploaded there each week. And you can hit subscribe and check them out each week. There also, you could find our video reviews for each movie and a few other fun tidbit type stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, this week I do not have Louis Corzolo by my side, but I have just as close of a friend and someone who has been a part of a Chasing Cinema since essentially its inception. He's been on the podcast many times. He is a genius marketer. He is my friend, Mr. James Hsu.
Chasing Cinema.
How are you, good sir?
You're going to have to forgive my voice. Might be a little coffee, might be a little itchy.
Yes, me as well. It is allergy season here, and me and James just unfortunately are very easy victims of allergy problems. I can feel it in the back of my throat. I know James is suffering as well, so bear with us here. As this week, James and I are going to just kind of catch up and see what James has been up to. We're going to talk about some movie news, but most of this podcast is going to revolve around the latest film, Furious 7, the newest installment in the Fast and Furious franchise. Mr. Hsu, before we get into a lot, how have you been? It's been a while since you've been on.
You know, everything's been good on my end. We've been traveling a little bit. I go to California typically every Wednesday. And it's just been a lot of fun. We've been doing a lot of speeches and helping a lot of people and teaching them how to be entrepreneurs and how to monetize themselves and the things that they should be doing to go out there to do the things that they want to do. So things have been good, man.
And let me tell you, being friends with James, I've been able to hear some incredible stories. I've seen what James has done. I've always done my best to follow what's going on with him. And the best way to do that is through Instagram or through Twitter. So make sure to give him a follow ASAP. You could find his Instagram and Twitter at HSUM James. Again, that's Hsu M James, HSUM James. You can also find him on youtube.com/HSUM James. Sir, crazy week. I think it's hasn't even been less than a couple hours since we were together talking about Furious 7, so I'm excited to talk to you about that. But before that, I know you are an avid movie watcher. I know you are an avid television show watcher. Besides what you've been watching in the movies, have you been seeing anything as of late?
Outside of the, excuse me, guys. Outside of the movie theaters, not really. I have actually been kind of busy, so that's kind of a good thing. House of Cards came out. Season 3 destroyed that little sucker in like a couple days.
Oh, so yeah.
And then there's a show called The Following with Kevin Bacon. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen bits and pieces. Vatan has watched that, and him and his family watched the whole entire thing though.
That's good. Yeah, I watched that up to everything they had on Netflix. Destroyed that. You know, before that Friends came out, me and my girlfriend destroyed all 10 seasons of that.
So you watch a lot of TV.
Typically, no, I don't. I know. I'm gonna say this, and I hate to do plugs, but I'm gonna thank my mentor for that. That if it weren't for him teaching me how to be successful and how to monetize myself and how to be able to give myself all the time I have now, I guess I do. I didn't even realize how much I watch, but and then I watched all 8 seasons of Entourage, and I destroyed that in like 8 days.
That's funny. We were just talking about Entourage last week. I was a big fan of when the show actually was currently going on, but I never watched season 7 and 8, so I never finished that story. I just think I kind of got busy in what I was doing, and I never got around to finishing those 2 seasons, but I definitely need to do that, especially before the movie comes out. I've actually not even seen the trailer for it yet, so I'm kind of just waiting to close the circle. But House of Cards, I've kind of not been able to watch House of Cards season 3 because I really want Samantha to be a part of that watching with me. Me and her have not watched many movies together because she's not a crazy movie person like I am, but she does. We do watch a lot of TV. We're watching Better Call Saul.
Hey, is that good? Better Call Saul?
Better Call Saul is amazing, and it's almost done with its first season. I think it has 3 more episodes left, but I can honestly say it is a very, very top show. I loved everything that I've seen so far. We also have been watching Fresh Off the Boat, which I think is hilarious, and I think is one of the greatest sitcoms on TV right now.
A bold statement, buddy.
Yeah, I know. But then again, I don't watch every sitcom on TV, so mind you of that. But Fresh Off the Boat is one sitcom I do turn into every week. Have you been watching that or no?
No, I haven't seen one thing of Better Call Saul other than the previews, but I'm excited to see it when it launches on Netflix.
Yeah, and then you got to watch Fresh Off the Boat too. Both those are solid. But I want her to watch House of Cards. She unfortunately did not watch House of Cards with me the first time round, so I'm trying to convince her to watch it with me so then I could go through season 3, and then I'll be refreshed on what was going on, and she could be a part of it. But until then, I'll just kind of have to wait it off. So what was your feeling towards season 3? I don't know if we really talked about it, but from what a lot of people have been saying, this is quite a turning point in the show in the sense that it's a lot more political than the past seasons. It's not as cutthroat and it's not the same type of really crazy criminal acts that we've been seeing, but it is a lot more from a politician standpoint. How did you feel about season 3, and do you think that's true?
100%. Season 3 definitely is in season 1 and season 2. Season 2, spoiler, I guess, but if you haven't seen season 2, there's this one scene in season 1 or season 2, first act of the first scene of season 2 where you're like, oh my God, like you didn't even understand what's going on. And they have some, throughout the episodes, they have just these crazy things where you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Well, I think they are like, well, the president of the United States at this point, he's earned what he wanted. So we probably shouldn't do things like that. And to me, yeah, that does make sense. And it is definitely more political. The ending isn't gut wrenching. It's more like, oh my gosh, why you freaking why? It's awesome. I can't wait. And then yesterday, or at the time of this recording yesterday, April 2nd, Thursday, it got renewed for season 4. I saw after Louis Vuitton told me. I went online to check, and he was right. So I'm just jacked up ready for season 4. And I want the show to go on. I would love it to go for 8 seasons, 9 seasons. I don't know if it can go that long because you can only be president for 4 years, but I love it. Or 8 years, I guess. Never mind. You can be the president for 8 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm interested to see where the show is going. I did watch the first episode of season 3, just to kind of see what was going on. And I immediately could tell the show had a little bit of a different feel, but I am super excited to get around to it.
Hey, on a serious note, I never watched Entourage before.
Yes.
And then the movie's coming out, and then my friend's like, oh my gosh, if anything, you of all people should be watching Entourage. He gives me all 8 seasons. Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, how did you feel about Entourage? Now, mind
awesome.
you, I didn't see the last 2, but I am a huge fan of the movies up until that point. Very, very great show.
Freaking awesome. Loved it. I love Ari Gold.
Yes, Jeremy Piven. I thought was one of the coolest characters they created. But now, like, he's, being an agent and doing what he does, I think he's just, everyone kind of loves him, his cockiness, his wittiness. And of course, I love him and Tam. I think Tam was hilarious. I don't know if Tam is in the later seasons. I'm trying to remember. But now, like, I've been thinking a lot watching Better Call Saul. Like, Saul and him are just two great characters. I would just love to see who people would react to and care for more positively.
Yeah.
Moving on, we're going to hop in. Oh, is there anything else you've been watching, sir, before I move on?
I don't think so.
Okay. Besides TV, James is being quite modest about how many movies that he watches because each week, pretty much me and James are at the movies together recording a video, as most of you should already know. If not, make sure to go to youtube.com/chasingcinema and you can see all of our video reviews. And I have been doing video reviews with James since Battleship, I think, was the first one that we did together. So we've been together doing this for some time. Again, you can access all those on YouTube, and you can also listen to our podcasts. So, Mr. Hsu, let's hop into some movie news. If you know anything or want to talk about anything that I might not know of, because Louis Vuitton is usually the movie news guy, please feel free to throw it at me to see to tell me what's going on. But as of right now, the few that I want to mention is that recently Disney has been blowing through as much as they can, and they are working very, very hard, especially trying to recreate a lot of classic films, classic animated films into live action stories. One of them that isn't too shocking, but I feel will be quite interesting is Mulan. I don't know a lot of details, but I know that is one that they are actually in the middle of developing. What do you feel about that? How you've been liking these live action Disney movies?
You know, I'm actually loving them. If I could complain about anything, which I don't want to complain and be all negative, is I wish that they turned the songs. I wish they did the musicals. I wish that we had the songs. So when we see Mulan, I'm gonna be first one in line. I'm gonna be jacked up. I'm gonna have my Panda Express in my hand. I'm gonna have my, I'm gonna go all out. I remember when Mulan came out originally at McDonald's, they did chicken nuggets in the rice boxes that we had. That you can go to, like if you go to Chinese restaurants, the rice that comes in those boxes.
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I love the musicals. Who is that girl I see staring straight? Anyway, so I'm all in, man. I love these movies. I don't have kids yet, as you know, but when I have kids, all they're gonna see every day is Pixar films, Mulan, Pocahontas, Lion King, Up. That's all they're going to see for the first 10 years of their life.
Yeah, that is probably the most thing that I'm looking forward to most is having children, is sitting them down every day and making them watch every movie that I have to recommend. I will be able to just totally raise a monster, if you will. Now, this isn't the first time that Disney has talked about doing a live-action Mulan. Actually, about 5-6 years ago, they were talking about doing a retelling with, James, correct me if you know the better pronunciation, but Zhang Ziyi from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Has to Fly Down. What would have been awesome?
Oh my God, that girl's absolutely just gorgeous, and she's already a warrior.
Yeah, she's incredible. Unfortunately, that kind of just fell by the wayside, so they are going to kind of revamp it and do something different. And I'm interested to see who they'll cast now, though, because reason being why Fresh Off the Boat has gotten so much publicity is because, there really is a lack of Asian ethnicity in entertainment here in America. No matter where you look, no matter if it's movies, no matter if it's television, there is a real lack from that. So, and I'm sure that must kind of be frustrating. At least I don't know if you find it necessarily frustrating, but you have to notice, obviously, that there isn't much of an Asian ethnicity in the entertainment that's going on in America.
I do, but I'm not going to lie, and I hope I don't, make some Asians mad when I say this. But if you want to see Asians, watch an Asian movie. We're in America. We watch American movies, and Asian people aren't the majority in America, and white people are, and that's why a lot of white people are in movies. They have some Asians in movies. If I could complain about anything, I don't like how we're always the smart, nerdy, or beyond dumb party guy, but I'm just, on a serious note, though, I'm excited about Mulan. I'm excited about... Give me a Pocahontas. We're going to get the live action Tarzan. I just wish we had the music, and then Kristen Wiig. No, not Kristen Wiig. The hot girl from Harry Potter is going to be in
Emma
Beauty and
Watson?
Beast.
Yeah.
Emma Watson's the Beast. Emma Watson is Belle. That gets me
No
excited.
pun
brother.
intended, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as me and James recently talked about, as we both watched Cinderella, I haven't been too crazy on all of the live action. I just haven't had one that has hit me with the power that the original films have. I think Maleficent was good because it was a different story. They didn't necessarily remake something. They told it from a different point of view, where Cinderella was more of a direct remake, though there was some changes, but not many. But I'm excited. I'm always open for Disney's films, but I know that these films have been kind of getting a lot of feedback where it doesn't have that magic Disney touch that people have been wanting, but it more just seems like really great marketing. But that's not all. Disney is also, which is also developing one where it really kind of makes me scratch my head because I just have no idea how they're going to really pull it off. But there has been talk that they're going to be developing, Disney as well, will be developing a Winnie the Pooh live action movie. Now, Hsu, I don't know if you are a Winnie the Pooh fan, but I am incredibly a huge fan of Winnie the Pooh. But how do you feel about this? Is that strange? What's going on there?
I'm assuming, and tell me, just answer. I assume it's going to be like Smurfs 3D or Smurfs.
I would hope so.
Pooh is CG, right? Pooh and Tigger is CG, Eeyore is CG, and Christopher Robin's just a real boy, I assume.
Well, from what I've been reading, it is going to be a live action, so I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go with it. But from what I hear now, when I hear live action, I'm assuming real, but I'm hoping that it'll be animated, just a stronger animated film.
And to answer your question, my sister is in love with Pooh Bear, has all the books, has all these toys and stuff like that. So, and again, yeah, I'm a huge fan. But dude, on a serious note, and everyone watching this, man, if you don't want your kids turning into those people that we make fun of online, and you don't want to turn them into a gangbanger and all this stuff, freaking right when they grow up, you brainwash them with Winnie the Pooh, you brainwash them with Mulan, and on a serious note, and we'll talk about Furious 7 in a minute, you haven't watched Furious 7 and stuff, not the stealing cars part, but we'll move on.
Another thing, do you watch Arrow by chance?
I got into it on Netflix because of Netflix. I try to watch it and pound through it because that's just how I love just freaking, what do they call that again when you just go through all the episodes? Binge watch. I was binge. I love binge watching, man. It's fun, especially when I'm into something. Woo. And nope, I don't know. It wasn't bad, bro. It just didn't get me jacked up.
Well, the star of
Stephen Amell,
is going to be has been recently cast to be in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as Casey Jones. I, for one, was not a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so any news about the sequel does not excite me in any part or any aspect. But I am glad they are bringing Casey Jones into it. I have not watched an episode of Arrow. The parts that I've seen as a whole, start to finish, but I've seen clips, I've seen bits and pieces, and I'm not too fascinated on what's going on, but at the same time, I am excited to see Casey Jones. Hopefully, this will be a much more grounded version. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm jacked up. Hey, Megan Fox back again. April O'Neil, all down. The Turtles, if it were up to me, just a little less kiddie, just a little more serious, just a little bit, I would love it. But again, I didn't have a problem with the film. It was cool for what it was. But if they could just turn it just up a notch again, where these are freaking turtles, because I thought the way they made the turtles look, they're freaking 9 feet, thick as crap, buff. I thought that was perfect. I was like, yes, those are what the turtles would look like if they were real. Now, just tone it down just a little bit. I'm not talking about being all serious Dark Knight Rises. I'm not saying turn into Bane. I'm not saying Joker. I'm saying just a little bit more. Plus, you have Megan Fox banging. And then they also already announced Alessandra Ambrosio, the Victoria's Secret model, is also going to be in the film. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Michael Bay. I'm all in.
That is... like I was telling James and Kent last night, every time I do go into a movie, I hope the movie succeeds. I never want to go through a bad movie. I hope every movie does well. So what I do is go see TMNT 2, though I will it'd be very hard for me not to remember the pain that I sat through, known as the first film, but I will be rooting for this movie and hope it is better to watch. And lastly, I just want to mention that Mad Max has already signed on for 3 sequels. Tom Hardy has signed on for 3 more movies, and even the first one has not been released, though it'll be here, I believe, in about a month or 2. Have you ever seen the original Mad Maxes?
I never saw any of them. Didn't understand why people were so jacked up and fired up about Mel Gibson, etc. And then I've seen every trailer that they've recently done. George Miller is a freaking. He's gave us this wasteland world. Charlize Theron, bald, still hot. Oh my gosh, bro. Oh my gosh. This movie just looks. I don't even know what to expect, and I don't even want to know. I just want to go into this movie and tear my head off. I think after this movie's over, I'm going to literally want to run through a wall. I think, and also supposedly, it's confirmed, Batman v Superman trailer is going to play right before. Oh my gosh,
yes,
bro.
The long-anticipated teaser trailer for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice will be attached to George Miller's film. That could possibly change in that time period. But
all day.
That's going to be huge. Because I remember people... I don't remember what movie it was, or what I believe actually it was Harry Potter, it might have been, where people actually went to go see the trailer for The Dark Knight Rises would go to see the trailer in this movie and then still walk out. They just wanted to see the trailer. Now it's a lot easier, with YouTube and everything, but there are some people who still absolutely want to just watch the trailer in the theater. I could even tell you that Kevin Smith did that because the night of, I believe, the Harry Potter release, I was in California watching him record a podcast live. And right before this was at Universal Studios, where there is a Universal Studios AMC where you could go and watch movies. It's a beautiful theater. He actually said that he had came from that theater to watch that trailer before he ended up recording the podcast, but did not stay for the movie. So that is exciting. I'm really, really excited for that. That movie comes out May 15th, Mad Max Fury Road. Hopefully we will see the Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Though I have to admit that I am kind of I'm really... don't know. I don't even know how I feel about that trailer. I mean, of course I want to see it, but at the same time, it's just all this hype kind of starts to come down to this. It is now real. It'll be in our face now. And it's just getting really, really close, where before when we talked about it, just seemed so far off.
We got 11 months, my friend. And then right after that, Suicide Squad, Margot Robbie. Woo!
Margot Robbie, who I thought dominated in Hitch. But anyway, moving on. Right now, me and James are going to review the movie of the week, which is Furious 7, the 7th installment.
Oh my god!
In the Fast and the Furious franchise. But before that, there's already been a lot of talk about Fast and Furious. It's been a main conversation this week. I know Helen Mirren said at some point that she would like to be in a Fast and Furious movie. I know Vin Diesel actually, doing some research today before we got on, was saying that he believes Fast and Furious 8 will take place in New York. He believes that the Furious 7 is starting a brand new trilogy. So he is all set. Vin Diesel's all set to just go on and see what else is out there. We do know that there's been talk for 8, 9, and 10, which I'm sure is definitely going to happen. So I don't know. I don't know, but before we even think about Furious 8, 9, or 10, Fast and Furious 8, 9, or 10, whatever they may be named, we have to talk about the movie that just came out last night, Furious 7. Before we get into that, Mr. Hsu, tell us quickly, not quickly, take your time, your experience with Fast and Furious up until this point.
So part 1, The Fast and the Furious, came out in 2001. And when I first saw that trailer, this was at the time of age where I graduated the year 2000. So I graduated at 17, just turning 18 because it's June. So I was 19 years old. And you got to know, man, in Las Vegas, if you're an Asian, and I say Asians because a lot of them were Asian, but if you were just a young guy that loved Hondas, the Integra, the NSX, in the Civic, because you can't afford a better car, but you get the Civic Si, and this was during the time where it was all about just hanging out with your friends. We didn't have careers. We didn't take a career seriously. We didn't even remotely think about having a career. We just thought about what are we going to do tomorrow night. And when the Fast and the Furious trailer came out, we said, oh my gosh, this movie is going to be the best movie in the history of the world. Give it an Oscar. And we saw it. And at that mindset, we weren't let down. That movie blew our socks off. We met Paul Walker, Brian O'Connor. We met Vin Diesel, Dominic Toretto, sorry. And we met these two guys. We met Jordana. And we just saw this movie where it's like, yeah, man, this is cool. And I think every guy who's into cars, motorcycles, anything like that said, I want that life. What life? Where you're with your friends, you're driving your nice cars that are all hooked up, all fast, in a crew. You go everywhere together, and that's all you do. And when I saw that, that's all my friends and I did. We would go to the mall together. We would roll in 5 or 6 cars together. We would all roll in one car together. We would do everything together. We would take photos at the mall where there's 10 of us. We would all dress in the same color. I'll show you, Chasing, next time I see you. We would do that. And a lot of that was because of seeing it Hollywoodized and polarized on camera. That movie just got us so jacked up. And then obviously it did well financially. The truth is that a lot of people don't know is Vin Diesel got a little ego, and that's why he wasn't in Too Fast, Too Furious. It wasn't, for those of us that don't know, it wasn't that he wasn't invited to be in Too Fast, Too Furious. He really did get an ego and said, I'm going to go off and do Triple X. I'm going to go off and do the Riddick film, which was one of his passions, which now he owns the rights to that, by the way. And so he stepped out of Too Fast, Too Furious, and that's where we first met Tyrese Gibson in Too Fast, Too Furious. That came out in 2003, so two years later. And again, that movie was successful. People liked it. And again, people may not know this, Paul Walker himself got a little ego. It wasn't that he wasn't invited to the next one. They just said, you know what? I don't want to be just known as the guy that does that, which I'll probably go into my own little thing about how you shouldn't be complaining if you have a chance. Go for it. Anyway, the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift came out in 2006. So we really did see a little break right there, longer than a 2-year break. We saw a 3-year break. Tokyo Drift came out. And again, it got everyone all fired up again because it was in Tokyo, drifting. It was crazy. You know, we had Bow Wow in the movie, which I don't know. I don't think that got a lot of people jacked up. Twinkie, but he wasn't annoying in that movie. And then we had the new white guy that, again, I don't think that guy got him jacked up. However, that's where we met Han, Sung Kang, and they killed him in Tokyo Drift, as everyone knows. And if that's a spoiler, I apologize. But Jesus, you know,
where have you been?
You're
late.
If that is a spoiler, I apologize. But that's where we met him, and no one knew he was going to be the character he became. And then what happened was they killed him. And I know for a fact, I don't care what any of the screenwriters tell me. I don't care what anyone tells me. They regret that to this day. They're like, dang it, we shouldn't have killed him. And then at the end of it, they're like, hey, you know, Universal said, we want you to be in this film. And then Jake Tiranno, Dom Toretto,
We're related, don't worry.
Sorry, Dom Toretto, Vin Diesel said, I'll do a cameo at the end, but if I do, you give me the rights to Riddick. And then they're like, sure, because Riddick wasn't going anywhere and still hasn't gone anywhere. Anyway, not disrespect. I love Vin Diesel, but still hasn't gone anywhere, dude. Just saying. So that he made the cameo. And again, it blew up. Everyone loved it. And then they're like, you know what? You know, Paul Walker and, you know, it's great because I know I know that Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are in Hollywood or whatever. You know, they have money, but they're looking at each other, you know, saying, you know, bro, neither of us are really doing much, but this Fast and Furious thing, people love it. And the truth is, we don't mind it, bro. How about we just do one more in 2009? So 3 years later, Fast and Furious, we have the old crew together. And then here we go with fire, bro. It starts going crazy. And then Fast 5, which a lot of people say is the turning point where everyone said, whoa. They were like, Keanu Reeves, whoa. They're like, dude, that was pretty good. Like, people were starting to say, wow, that was a good movie. You know, and then 2 years later again, now Fast and the Furious 6, obviously now, in Fast 5, they introduced The Rock. And then this is at obviously not the pinnacle, but this is really where the momentum happened for Rock, where people are like, dude, this isn't just a dumb wrestler. That he is not just a wrestler, dude. This guy is, and he's not just an actor that's going to be in maybe a couple Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's just going to be maybe the funny guy.
Yeah,
this guy
definitely.
This guy can act. He's like a legitimate actor.
He
like
made some movies, he made quite a number of movies before that, but he never really was able to cross over in a modern day action star. I would say really until Fast Five, when the world started taking him serious.
Yeah, and absolutely deserving so. And then, so hopefully I just brought you guys up. And then they've done a lot of mistakes with, I think the Letty thing, to be honest with you, the amnesia thing, she died thing, again, spoiler, I guess, potentially, Jesus though. But I think there's certain things where, because I don't even think, let me rephrase that. I know 100%, even Universal didn't know this was gonna, you want a franchise to do 6, 7, 8, part 9. You want that obviously, but you never know.
Yeah.
And with the day and age we live in where it's all about franchises and building that brand, they always hope that they have it. And these films, like most brands, after part 3, 4, 5, it's the scale is going down. They're making a little less money. They're like, okay, let's just do one more and try to squeeze out just a little bit more. These Fast and Furious movies, these are going Fast and Furious 5. It made an extra 100 million. Fast and Furious 6 made an extra 200 million. Fast and Furious 6 did almost $800 million in the worldwide box office. And rumors are saying Fast 7 will do $1 billion because of course, of Mr. Paul Walker, leaving Earth and giving his talents to another place. And I'm just jacked up. So hopefully that little summary, guys, did it for you. Fast and Furious, for me, it means a lot. And please don't get me wrong. I know it's not going to win Oscars. I know it's not going to be anything other than what Fast and Furious is. And if you understand what that term means, I think that's what we're going to expect out of it. And for me, Chasing, I was not let down with the movie last night. When I got home, and I hate to sound, I'm not even just saying this to sound all like, cause we're on the podcast, man, but it's like, I love you, man. Like, I'm talking about you. Like, I love you, man. Cause like, I watched that movie. Like, for me, these Fast and Furious films, what they mean is brotherhood, friendship, team building. You stick together, thick and thin, ups and downs, over, under, or through. It doesn't matter. You just stick together. And they dramatize it, obviously, but they have that underlying meaning throughout all of the movies. They've always had that. And throughout all the movies, that's just what this movie is about. Familia, right? As Vin Diesel would say, because that's the only word, it's the only line he can say. But yeah, and for me, when I was at home last night, 4 a.m, making sure we get our videos up on YouTube, I'm just thinking in my head, like, there's nothing, family, Fast and Furious for me says the best. Family doesn't mean blood. Because you have people who have blood family that do them wrong all the time. You have people who have a blood family that they don't even talk to each other. They hate each other. They'll sue each other if they need to. And family is about people who just stick by you, who you can count on. And I love this relationship that you and I have built through what better way than film, where we see each other every week and we've become such good friends where we can just be brothers. And I love it. And to me, that's what Fast and Furious, if it wasn't for Fast and the Furious, I don't even know if I would, because that's what film does for people like you and I anyways, is it really gives us more, these underlying meanings, and really gives us showing us the value of life and understanding. And Fast and Furious, man, I love you. Paul Walker, I'm giving you a peace sign, man. I love him.
Well, sir. You get a little emotional, didn't you? Sir, well, I love you as well.
And we haven't even talked about the movie yet.
I know. I love you as well. I do consider you family. This movie does have emphasis that. So let me, now that was Fast and Furious through James's eyes. Now, let me tell you, so let's talk about Fast and Furious as a series beforehand. Now, James pretty much nailed the movies on their head, but I want to say that, to talk about these movies, you kind of have to understand that this movie really did not have any idea, and so really had no idea where this movie was going to go. And honestly, I don't think it's fair to even say that Fast and Furious went where no one could imagine, because there was a major shift in the middle of it. Now, personally, I watched Fast and Furious when I was a kid. My friend was really into racing and cars. I have never been into it, so movie didn't really do much for me. I wasn't really crazy about the first couple movies. I have to be honest with you. But they're like the first movie. All right, so let's look at box offices really quick before I really get into this movie. Fast and the Furious, worldwide made $206 million. That was back in June 2001. Domestically,
chasing 207,283,927. Just saying.
Well, all right. Well, these might not be the most exact numbers, but okay. So Mr. Hsu will fill you in with those if I'm wrong. Around 144 million domestically. Too Fast, Too Furious raises the bar a little bit worldwide with around 236 million. Though in domestically, the movie had a drop at 127 million.
Correct.
Then we have Tokyo Drift, which is the lowest. Was the drop for Fast and Furious. So Fast and Furious, as originally planned, is working. We lose our two main stars. Well, now we lose both main stars, and the movie completely drops. The movie made, though still a very healthy $157 million worldwide, it only made around $62 million here domestically. As James said, Vin Diesel makes a cameo at the end of that film. We get Fast and Furious, which obviously got everyone really pumped up. It earned around $363 million worldwide and about $155 domestically. I'm still not interested at this point because it is exactly what Fast and Furious set out to be. It is, a very heavy racing movie. They do a little bit more than just racing now, but it never really kind of reaches that. Even though people are loving this movie, it never really became what it becomes until Fast 5. And you could agree with me, I'm sure, James. Though our opinions are different of the movies, Fast 5 is when this series completely transforms into something beyond Fast and the Furious. It becomes its whole action movie. These guys become action stars. It's not so much just about racing and cars. It becomes, we are this band of brotherhood, band of brothers that do incredible things. And Fast 5 is when my interest is
incredible chasing.
Well, Fast 5 is when these movies pique my interest. I'm said, okay, The Rock is in it. I am a wrestling fan. I've been watching Rock for a very long time. So you throw The Rock in there, you're throwing more faces in there. You've sparked my interest. And I'm not the only one because worldwide, Fast 5 made around $629 million. I believe around 200 of that was made domestically. And it's fun. I'm still not in love with these movies. I don't have the attachment to these characters that many other people have, but I find it a better overall action movie where it's not so much focused on one aspect. Fast and Furious 6 comes out last year. Me and Hsu are working together. We and him are reviewing movies. It's the first Fast and Furious movie we see together. Lot of hype going into this, and that movie makes over $789 million.
Crazy.
Worldwide, and 238 of that was made domestically.
And Chasing, real quick, because I think there's people that don't know, any movie in North America, if you can be in the $200 million club, no studio's mad.
You're absolutely right. Those are great numbers, and so this movie has definitely made changes. It isn't the original idea that it was set out to do. They've adapted and they've worked with. They've basically fed the audience. This is a movie that really, really feeds the audience, regardless if it hasn't been my favorite franchise at all, or nothing that I would consider my favorite. I've seen my brothers love these movies. I know my good friend and my new brother James is a huge fan of these movies. I don't mind people enjoying those movies. This movie has an audience. I think it's an action movie, but I really respect the fact that this was one of the movies that adapted to its audience. It stopped just being kind of where it's focusing because, one movie I really don't hear a lot of people talking about is Fast and Furious, the fourth installment. I don't hear many people talking about that, but you get people talking about Fast and Furious. Majority of them are talking about Fast 5 and Fast 6 because it completely changes the game. And those are the two movies that I would say I like more than any of the franchise. Personally, I would say I'd pick 5 over 6. But again, nothing that I absolutely love. So going into this movie, I'm kind of excited just because of all the hype going into it. I don't care if it's for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 or Furious 7 or if it's anything, I am excited being at the theater with people. Hsu can testify to that. Mr. James Hsu could let you know I am always a fan of being with the audience. I love the theater experience. I don't care what I'm watching. And I'm rooting for this movie to be good. Now, as James also mentioned, there was a tragic accident in November of 2013 when Paul Walker, a main star of this franchise, passed away after a tragic car accident. And this movie becomes something very important. I don't specifically remember where. If you watch our video review for this movie, James was talking about where he was, and I'm sure he'll probably get into that again here. But you know what I remember most is I remember hearing the cast of Fast and Furious talk about Paul Walker. I think that is what stuck in my head the most, and how Tyrese Gibson and Vin Diesel kind of made these incredible statements and what they were talking about, and hearing their emotion of the loss of this man really kind of made it more of an emotional experience for me. And of course, made me really want to see this film. Paul Walker also, did 2 movies in between the time from then and now, though. There was also there was a release of Hours, and then another action film I can't remember. It's based off of I believe a French film. It's an action movie, Brick Walls or something like some sort of action movie. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But this was his movie. This was his farewell film. So we have a lot of eyes watching, a lot of emotion going into this movie. Just about 2 weeks ago, I heard Vin Diesel say that this movie is the most emotional Fast and Furious movie yet. And by his belief, it should be nominated for Best Picture. If the Oscars don't do that, they're just not sure what's going on with Relevant. Now, I don't say that to kind of take a jab at Vin Diesel, because I know people like me already know that he's, this movie really is important to him. I know how much of his heart is into it, so I could understand why he says that. But no, but over here, as far as I stand, this movie won't be nominated for Best Picture. But this is a movie that will be represented and chosen by its fans. I can never discredit anyone for liking any movie. I love when people love movies. I'm glad people find movies that they can connect to. James just told me that he's had an emotional experience with these movies. They've helped alter his way in seeing things and possibly have changed his life for the better. That is why I love film, and I will respect that no matter what. I will never attack that, but I will always give my opinion. And but nevertheless, if it changes somebody, if it helps someone through a tough time, then that movie has done something great, and I will give that credit too. So without further ado, unless Hsu, you have anything to add?
You know what? I think we're going to get into it. I'm sure that I have so much stuff.
Okay. Again, I'm talking with James Hsu. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram at HSUMJames. That's Hsu M. James, HSU M. James. And you can also find all of his YouTube videos at youtube.com/HSUMJames. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about Furious 7. Mr. Hsu, what did you feel about the latest installment in the Fast and Furious franchise?
Loved it. 100% loved it. And just as a forewarning, it's a Fast and Furious movie. Bunch of silliness, bunch of ridiculousness, bunch of things where you're like, yeah, you can't do that in real life. But on a serious note, the ending for Paul Walker is so mesmerizing. It's so perfect. It's so beautiful that's the exact type of ending that I want. That's the exact type of ending I wanted to see. The sign off for Paul Walker, I didn't know exactly how they were going to do it. They kept on saying that they weren't going to kill him. They kept on saying that, they weren't going to kill him because that's just, there's no heart in that. And the ending that they gave Mr. Paul Walker was just so good. I loved it so much that I was with my girlfriend when we woke up this morning because she was at work, and she was like, how was it? And because me and her drove to Paul Walker's site when that happened. We stayed there for about an hour, just, in the moment, I guess. And she got this small piece of glass from the shattered Porsche. She has that in her car right now. And so, we're really big Paul Walker fans. And for me, this movie, Chasing, it's outside of the fact it was a Fast and Furious movie. For me, they just could not have did it any better. I thought the CGI masking, the Planet of the Apes type of Weta type of, they had to take his brother for about 15-20% of the film supposedly. And I thought they digitally did Paul Walker perfectly. The voice again was great because, he's been in so many Fast and Furious movies that there's so much dialogue to pick from to make sentences and make it sound correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have a problem. I didn't say to myself, ooh, that didn't sound right. I thought they did it great. Universal, I have so much respect for them for doing what they did, giving $1 million to Paul Walker's foundation, and also, figuring out, okay, how are we going to do this? It would have been a dumb business, and they never should have said, okay, we're not even going to finish the film, we're done. That's not even, anyone who says that, you just don't understand business. You're being selfish to Paul Walker, because Paul Walker is one person. When we see a film, yeah, on the poster there's 5, 6, 7 names. 7, huh? But in reality, you have thousands of people on these films that aren't getting paid millions of dollars, and this is what they do to make money. And to just not pay these people and not to finish work, that doesn't make sense. And so again, the whole Paul Walker thing, I'm so curious because before he had passed away, they had said part 7 was going to be the turnaround for Furious movies, or going to be heist films. And part 8 was going to be a heist. Part 9 was going to be a heist. And I remember very clearly, and I'm sure someone's going to correct me. Well, they never said that officially, but I was told 7, 8, 9 were supposed to be a new trilogy for these heist people, where they were going to be Ocean's 11, 12, 13 is what these Furious movies were going to be. And James Wan took over. He did Tokyo Drift, and then now he's doing Furious 7. And in Furious 7, he did these cool scenes with the camera where if someone fell on the floor, the camera would fall on the floor, so you would see it from that angle. And I really, really enjoyed that. I don't think anyone, even if you don't like Fast and Furious, you hate Fast and Furious, please watch Furious 7. Support this film. Not like it needs support. There's literally not even a doubt. If someone said, bet me $1,000 right now that it's not going to do $1 billion, I would take the bet, because I genuinely believe nothing's going to stop this film from doing $1 billion worldwide. Because when Paul Walker had passed away, I had never seen something trend so long. Robin Williams, when he passed away, absolutely sad. I did not see. And again, at my age, because people who had Facebook that were 60 years old, yeah, granted, I agree, you didn't see what I saw. But the love and support that people have for Paul Walker from my timeline, because of those people are all around my age, it was going on for a month. It was absolutely ridiculous. Paul Walker, and it's 3 weeks later, I love Paul Walker. I was like, okay, guys, he moved on, he's passed. All right, guys, let's move on. And people are just all this stuff. Anyway, so I don't doubt that there's not a single part of me that doesn't say this movie's not doing $1 billion. This movie's absolutely going to do a Fierce 8. But we'll talk about that in a minute too, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but
real quick, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but and to help even really prove Mr. Hsu's point, last night alone, in the opening night of Furious 7, the movie has made over $15.8 million.
In only a couple hours.
In a couple hours. Which means that this movie is easily going to pass $100 million this weekend.
Hey, on our YouTube video, what did I say?
I don't remember the number that
115 player.
115 was your prediction. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's even more than that. People are going to fill these theaters. But okay, I'm sorry.
No, but so on Forbes.com this morning, Forbes kind of has an idea of what they're talking about. Even they said with the opening a couple hours from 8 p.m. to midnight of 15 million, this movie has the opportunity to be in the ranges of $150 million weekend, has the potential of that. So anyway, so the whole point is people are going to flock to this movie. I want to highly recommend everybody watch this movie. And even if I don't even care if you're telling me you're only watching it for that last, let's say 7 minutes of the film. It's so beautiful. If you were in front of me and you wanted me to talk to you about it, I could probably start crying because I thought it was so it made me so mad seeing the ending. Potential spoiler warning, where all the characters are looking at Paul Walker and he's just with his baby and Jordana. Gosh, bro, it wouldn't have made sense chasing, but if I could have had The Rock also on the beach with them, I know that wouldn't have made sense because of who the character is, because they still kind of had to try. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, why don't we just kind of reserve the whole ending, and we'll do a point where we say, okay, from now on, we'll actually tell you what happens, and we'll get more into detail. Okay. Any more things on the your opinion on the movie before the Paul Walker tribute? We'll do that.
No, other than character rundown real quick. Vin Diesel was Vin Diesel. I thought Vin Diesel was just perfect. Vin Diesel kind of is Dominic Toretto. That's like kind of who he is now. That's all he is now. So, and that's not to, and I hope someone doesn't get offended by that. That's not to dumb him down or anything, but it was awesome. Paul Walker. It was Paul Walker, granted. And in the movie, you could tell he didn't have as many lines that I'm sure he was going to have. He didn't have as many scenes as he was going to have because of obviously what happened. Dwayne Johnson, bomb. There's this part where, this isn't a spoiler because this isn't the trailer. He breaks his cast. Okay. Yeah. The Rock. Michelle Rodriguez was Michelle Rodriguez. Jordana Brewster, to me, she's just breathtaking, bro. I don't know. There's something about her. And again, it might be because, I don't know, I've only seen her for the past decade of my life as Paul Walker's girlfriend. So I love Paul Walker. So I love her. Beautiful. Tyrese, and it was awesome. Ludacris was awesome. Kurt Russell was cool. Jason Statham, Bamfi. Yeah, I can't wait to see him in part 8. Cannot wait. And I don't think anyone expects him not to be in part 8, because you're not going to bring in a Jason Statham for a one time. You know, I mean, that's a no-brainer, honestly. And if that is a spoiler to you, I guess I apologize, but that's honestly a no-brainer that you don't bring in Jason Statham for a one-time, let's kill him. Just saying. Thor's wife was Thor's wife, meaning she was beautiful. I liked her. She's not a great, Oscar-winning actress, but she fits in these Fast and Furious films just fine. Tony Jaa. When he was fighting Paul Walker made it believable he could keep up with Tony Jaa. And then, it wouldn't even be Tony Jaa if they didn't do the special Tony Jaa scenes where he's, running through a fence and the hole's only, a couple inches wide, and loved it. Ronda Rousey was Ronda Rousey in the term of, limited lines, because you can't give her a lot of lines because she's not an actress. But when it comes to fighting scenes and making us believe it, loved it. And that's all I got, man. Loved it. Fast 7, watch it.
Elsa Pataki. Yeah. Pataki is Chris Hemsworth's wife. James was talking about Thor's wife. That's who he was talking about. Okay. Wow. Fast and Furious. Furious 7. This movie is a superhero movie to me nonetheless. Because this movie literally takes every believability, every rational thought that any of these films kind of had, and they really throw it all out the window. If you've seen Fast 5, Fast 6, there were definitely some strong moments where you're like, wow, that's really kind of out there. But, I'll go with it. This movie takes that to the extreme, which I believe works in its favor, but also, kind of makes it, again, a different movie. And I don't say that, again, to be jabful or say this movie wants to be a super movie. It kind of actually has that feeling of this band of brothers that are able to do anything. The impossible is not existent in this world. The movie opens with an incredible action sequence. Well, not necessarily opens, but in very, very early in the film, there's an incredible action sequence that takes place with Jason Statham and The Rock, and I think that was the perfect way to kick off this movie. I was really in. To go back to what James was saying, I think that this is probably one of the best directed Fast and Furious movies, in the sense that James Wan, especially coming from where he came from, as early as Saw back in the day, making his first movie with his buddy, I forget his name, but he played Adam in the Saw film. And now he is continuing to make these movies, produce Insidious, direct Conjuring, and then to wind up doing one of probably the biggest franchise, and biggest, I mean longest. I mean, we've not, at least in our generation, have seen a movie that has made this many sequels before. Actually, up, I would say competing with Saw, but I believe Saw made it to 7. Actually, maybe 8. I'm not particularly sure now. But I'm sure it will surpass that. So this will be the biggest franchise that we've ever seen. So for him to get, and especially one of the most important as well, Furious 7, getting the game back together. Obviously he was on way before Paul Walker had passed. But he really directed this movie with a different kind of feel. And he really put you in the action, which many of the Fast and Furious movies really attempt to do. But there were some really great moments that I think Juan did that I've never really seen before that I really enjoyed. For instance, there's this scene, and it's not a major scene. It might not have made people really think about it, but it's one that's stuck in my head. When Vin Diesel is chasing Jason Statham after after a funeral of a character. I won't say who it was. Oh, well, I guess I could because it's Han. He already passed. But
yes,
Vin Diesel, I forgot that we've seen that. Vin Diesel brings him back, and they're at a funeral, and Vin Diesel makes Jason Statham. And then there's this chase kind of scene, but there's this great moment when we're actually not so much in the car hearing these exhausts. It's a really quiet moment where we're kind of watching afar and watching this Vin Diesel chase him, and I really enjoyed how it was really shot afar. It was quiet for a second, really watching, from a distance, because when you're in the car, you don't really get as much as they do throw so many things at you. And they've always done their best to kind of show you what it's like to be in a car, going that fast and being at that velocity. I really kind of enjoyed that fallback feel. The action sequences were directed very, very well. I liked that we were constantly tumbling with these guys. We were getting thrown around like them, as James had mentioned.
So cool.
But to me, I have to admit that I was not a huge fan of this film. Maybe it's because I've never really connected to these characters. I'm sure you could go back and read as early as I've been writing about Fast and Furious that I've never really had that brotherhood. I mean, I think my brother considers these people his family, his brothers. I'm sure James does, where they really feel like they've bonded to these characters. I guess I've never had that, so that automatically makes it harder for me to kind of follow or to really care about this story. I think that, this movie really falls on the shoulders of Vin Diesel, who is obviously the film's star, and to me, he did not execute. As James was saying, he very much, it seems like Vin Diesel is very much like his character Dom. But even with that, I found him kind of, I could not connect to that character. I found him very shallow. I found him very uninteresting. And again, these people who've been watching this movie for so long consider him, like a brother or someone like family, someone they care about. So obviously they're much more accepting to them as opposed to me, who I've not really latched onto them emotionally, and I still can't. And it just gets harder and harder for me to do so as Vin Diesel turns into the Hulk essentially in this film. Kurt Russell had a nice... I mean, pretty much this, like how I said last night in our video review, this movie essentially became the Avengers. We have Vin Diesel as the Hulk. We have probably Paul Walker as Captain America. Yeah. We have Tyrese Gibson, who's probably going to play Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, the witty character, the comic relief. We have... who else is left? Oh, Ludacris, who could be played by... Bruce
Banner, smart guy.
Yeah, Bruce Banner, smart guy, even though Vin Diesel's the Hulk. And then we have Kurt Russell, who's kind of all of a sudden like Nick Fury for the Shield. Kurt Russell has a really nice cameo. The movie really kind of takes itself to a very, very out there place. The one concept I really have to say, thinking about it overnight and really kind of thinking about the movie, preparing for this podcast, the one aspect that I actually really thought was great about this movie was not so much characters, was not so much necessarily a plot, but the concept of God's eye, which when you see the movie is basically this concept that someone can trace somebody through every security access point, every telephone, every camera accessible, and it kind of can really track someone down in minutes. I believe in the movie he says that it took them years to capture bin Laden. If they would have had this technology, they could have captured him in a few hours. I really thought that was a great concept in the movie, though it's just more for us to kind of boggle our heads around. There's a lot of things that I think are necessarily kind of unnecessary at this point. But I digress. Let's see here. So yeah, once you are
chasing.
Yes, go on.
You know what was stupid, honestly? And guys, I love the movie. But you know what was stupid, chasing?
What?
You know, the God's Eye. They work so hard to get the God's Eye. The very next scene, they go to Jason Statham. They take it. He takes it. It was like, okay, well, that was kind of, it wasn't even necessary. Anyway, I'm picking, but it was unnecessary. It was so stupid because you work so hard to get the God's Eye and you're going to literally just let it go in, 2 minutes it was?
Yeah. And it's true, though. Like, there is this kind of, regardless if you're a fan or not, you still are someone that could be like, hey, wait a minute. We have, these top secret military or whomever they are working on to get this, and it's just kind of this, it's definitely a movie that the plot just kind of fluctuates to the characters rather than the characters fluctuating to a plot. There's a droid scene that I really found unnecessary. You said it yesterday. It was really kind of unnecessary.
Dude.
But...
And real quick, sorry,
no.
Because you keep on making me think of these things. You're absolutely all 100% on point on that, because now for Fast and Furious 8 and 9, they have to. You can't just dumb it. I feel like they literally went to this whole. I have to admit, you're right. Like this comparison you're making is so true, because they're turning into these super. For Age of Ultron, that's fine. You can keep on having Ultron's 100 droids. Or drones or robots, but now with Fast and Furious, you didn't need the drone scene. You could have just exchanged it with maybe other people chasing them or something. I don't know. Chasing?
I think what the problem for me is now that poses for the next movie is you can't, in my opinion, you're not going to easily be able to go backwards, because you've shown me that these characters are really superhuman. And I don't mean that mockingly. And if that's where the movie chooses to go, that's 100% okay. But now, mind you, when you tell me if in the next movies they're fighting someone that's a little bit slower, or they're in a situation that isn't as powerful, and you put them in a more regular storyline where these extravagant things don't need to happen, it's harder for me to grasp that it's a difficult challenge. I've seen them take on a terrorist group now, and one of the, obviously, the most greatest ghosts, shadows, whatever they wanted to call Jason Statham ever. So now you really have raised a bar for me where I feel like they could have their own task force. Like, The Rock just needs to recruit them, and they just need to be a task force, because they could really pretty much do anything. And it is. I mean, these characters are parachuting in cars. They are. There's
awesome.
There's a moment when they throw they don't throw, but they're transferring a character in between two cars who are just happening to spin by each other. That slowed down for us to kind of see it, but these are things that are telling us these guys are more human without really saying it. They're not telling us that literally, but the way that they're kind of building up this movie, they are becoming superheroes. So for me, the hardest part about this movie is that you're going to have to make their opponents, their situations they're going to face later, even more highly crazy, unbelievable, because you're going to need to tell us there's a challenge here. And with what they faced in this movie, it's going to be, I think, really kind of difficult. They outrun a droid. They destroyed a terrorist group, stopped Jason Statham. They did a lot, and they've always done a lot, obviously. Fast and Furious 5, they robbed these huge, not security. These characters are becoming larger than life. And my question is just, where do you go for them now? But it is. It to me is a very, very low, a very calmed down superhero movie. And again, I haven't really decided if that's necessarily a good or a bad thing. But for me, it was harder and harder to grasp. But, as we talked about, Fast 5, Fast 6, both have moments where you're like, okay, that's a bit out there, but I'll buy it. And we've talked about this before. Action movies can either take themselves seriously or go to a point where it's just so ridiculous, we're just along for the ride. I was kind of caught in between, because I think the movie tried to have this real emotional feeling behind it, which it did for obvious reasons. That whole theater, we were in a packed theater last night, and it had this emotional feeling going through it of just, seeing Paul Walker, and we'll get into that again in a little bit, but there's this huge overall feeling in this movie, and then you're also at the same time having characters do these, literally flying, I don't remember what kind of car it was, but through 3 buildings. And, it's just, it's a lot of different emotions, and they don't all quite work. So for me, I wasn't a major fan, but if you liked any of the Fast and Furious movies, you're going to enjoy this movie. I think anyone who walks in the movie isn't going to regret paying their hard-earned money seeing it. I think that's the best way to put it. I don't regret watching the movie. It's not a movie I will probably revisit voluntarily. And if it's on TV and there's nothing else on, maybe I will watch it. But I won't go out of my way to see it again. But I do not at all regret watching this movie, and it was not a terrible movie at that either. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was worth watching. I wouldn't even say good.
You struggled to say that.
I wouldn't say necessarily a good movie because I've seen, but at the same time, it's not bad. It is what it is, just a little bit more out there. But I don't think anyone will regret paying to see it.
Love it.
Let's talk about Paul Walker now. Briefly, before we get into kind of how the send-off was, I will say the greatest thing I found about this movie is they never used Paul Walker's passing as an advantage. Everyone knows that this is Paul Walker's last big movie. We all kind of know that's the elephant in the room. We are watching this man who unfortunately passed away way too early. And the movie never uses that to get emotion out of the audience. And I really appreciate, like I was talking to James, again, I was expecting a huge entrance for Paul Walker, but there's not.
Like a Superman entrance, like bum, 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 bum.
Like a huge moment where the audience can clap and cheer, and there's not that moment. He's just as he would in any other Fast and Furious. And I respect James Wan and Universal for doing that and making sure that they don't use this into a point where it seems like they're kind of using it to their advantage, because that's just bad taste. I understand that we're all going to have this feeling to it, and you want to make sure that you also put a spotlight on this character, but you also don't want to be like, oh, this movie's better because of what it is his last movie and such. How did you feel about that, Mr. Hsu?
Loved it. There's nothing I can even say. I absolutely loved it because they easily, you could just be a corporate company and say, no, we're using this. And it would have worked just fine. And I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, but they could have easily just freaking exploited the fact Paul Walker's last film and made every single commercial filled with Paul Walker, every trailer filled with Paul Walker. Commercials were not filled with Paul Walker. Trailers were not filled with Paul Walker. And anyway, no one could even say that remotely is close because he was just there randomly in the film like he is. And like you said, in the way they was shot the film, they didn't make us be like, oh, there's Paul Walker. They just put him in there the way it would have been in a Fast and Furious film. I'm just so curious how this movie, I hope, and I'm sure it will come out in the next 5 to 10 years, what part 7, 8, and 9 were supposed to look like if this did not happen. I'm really curious.
Yeah. Excuse me.
No, it's all good.
I don't know who said it, but there's been this really huge statement and quote that I've been hearing a lot, and it's true. You could actually see it quite often in our marketing now. Sir, and mind you, I'm talking to one of the best social media marketers on the planet. He'll be the first to tell you, right now, philanthropy is marketing. Showing humanity, love, and care is the way to market something. We see it all around us. A lot of organizations are doing good, for other charities, and, everyone wants to show that humanity side of them, and every company does. And I hope, and I really do, I really hope that every company does it because they actually want to make a difference and they want to do something well and good for somebody, rather than just doing it because they know it'll get them that advertising, that marketing. This movie is a perfect example of not doing that. Instead of saying, like as James said, really tributed to Paul Walker's passing, come support the last, all this, they never did that. And for me, though, that seems where it might philanthropy and all this type of, that type of style would be genius marketing. That movie never did that, and I think that to me that meant more on how I felt about the movie.
Mm-hmm. I'm just jacked up, bro.
Okay.
I'm so jacked up.
But now, so this movie happens, and then we get to the end of the film where I'll have James kind of set the scene, but the movie stops being Furious 7, and it becomes Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Vin Diesel, and Paul Walker. And I'll let James kind of tell you of what happened because I like to hear him explain it.
All right, so film is over. We had our third act is done. The big fight happened, all that good stuff. The movie's done. This is what they have been talking about. We need to figure out how to do the perfect send off. How do we make it the best ending to respect Paul Walker, his family, his friends? How do we set this up? And we're on a beach. And this is spoiler warning, I guess. But please know this isn't an ending. It's just how they closed it off.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily a spoiler. It doesn't reveal anything.
No.
But if you do want to not know how it happens, you haven't seen the movie yet, you are kind of behind. It is Sunday or Monday by the time you're hearing this. You're behind, but get to a theater and watch it. But if not, there is no plot spoilers in this.
We're on a beach. Paul Walker's with his son, Jack. Jack, right?
Yes.
And Jordana Brewster, his wife in the movie. They're on a beach, and he's just sitting with Tyrese, Ludacris, Letty, Michelle Rodriguez, Vin Diesel, and Jordana is playing with Jack on the beach by the water. And then the line is something like, "It's that time, huh?" He's like, "Yeah," meaning it's time to play with I'm going to play with my son now. But what they were trying to say, the way I saw it, and hey, I could be completely wrong. The way they were saying it's that time. We got to let Paul go. And he gets up.
That is essentially what they say. He has to. That's his. There's a discussion where he says that's his new family.
Yeah,
this is where he's got to be. We got to let him go. And I think that actually is like literally a line. Is we have to let him go.
Yeah. Damn it! I'm getting all mad. So he gets up. He starts playing with his son, and this whole scene did the digital part, and I thought they did beautifully with it. Anyway, the look that Ludacris he's looking directly at Paul Walker in the scene, and Tyrese in the camera's directly on their faces. That right there, everybody, is why I want you to watch this movie. That's not a BS look. That's not a movie. I'm a good actor. They are literally saying bye to their friend. In the case of Tyrese Gibson, I mean, he was with him since Fast and Furious Part 2, Too Fast, Too Furious. I mean, these are real friends. I mean, these guys make millions and millions of dollars together where they party and they love each other and stuff like that. And I don't think there's anything more to love someone even more when you're a part of a franchise that's actually doing well. And you're on set with each other for, I don't know, 6 to 9 months out of the year. And anyway, so it sends him off, and then Vin Diesel stands up, and Letty or Michelle Rodriguez is like, "You're not even going to say bye?" Oh my God, dude, I was dying. And he's like, I forgot what he said. He's like, "I don't need to say, he's never going to go. He's always going to be a part of me," or something like that. At this point in the film, we're not even talking at all, for sure, to Brian O'Connor. We are literally signing off to Paul Walker, the actor, the gentleman, and he jumps in his car. And then right when he's at the light, Paul Walker is in that car with this beautiful smile. And he just says, "You weren't going to say bye?" And then, oh my gosh, they're taking my heart. They drive off into the sunset, and then they're on a road. And then the killer is the road splits. Vin Diesel goes right. Paul Walker goes left. Camera pans left with Paul Walker, rises up to the hills, into the light, into heaven. And it says, "For Paul. Game over." Oh my gosh, dude. It was poetic. It was beautiful. Thank you, Universal. Paul Walker, thank you, man. Hey, Chasing, this is going to sound funny. You know how every time, no matter where I go, I always run into somebody I know?
Yeah.
And you know how, and this, if you've never met me, I'll probably sound arrogant, but it's not intended to. But like, no matter where I go in Vegas, I will always run into people I know and stuff like that. And please know, I'm not saying it's because of Fast and Furious.
And he's not exaggerating. Anytime I go anywhere with him, people always come up to him, and I'll always have to be like, "All right, he has to talk to somebody," because he always knows everybody.
Yeah. so when I'm not saying I am not trying to give credit to Fast and Furious, but I am saying that the reason why I'm mobilizing people in my book, and not to pitch myself, but the book is about communicating and making friends with people and genuinely wanting to be friends with people, not expecting, oh, I'm friends with Chasing Cinema because I'm going to get something out of it. It's genuinely being friends with people. Anyway, so my whole point is Fast and Furious did that for me. Every 2 years, I get brainwashed with a brand new movie that all they're talking about is family, friendship. And none of them are blood except for the Torettos. All of them are just friends. And that sign off for me, man, I hate to do it again, but it was so freaking good that, maybe it's 1%, 2%, less than 5%, but because of this movie, these movies, is because of the person I am today. Because it's just, what a great ending, man. Like, if you're watching this movie and you hate Fast and Furious, seriously, watch the movie. And I'm serious. If you watch it and you don't like it, find me on Instagram, show me about this stuff. I'll send you $10. Like, I thought this movie was it was fantastic. And the ending was fantastic. The way they signed off with Paul Walker, and damn that bastard for going out and racing his car like a freaking, you don't care about other people. Because easily Paul Walker and them, if they would have killed someone instead of just killing themselves, this would be a whole lot worse. Thank goodness they didn't kill anybody, being reckless. And let's not forget that Paul Walker and his buddy, they were being reckless, driving however fast that was on a normal street, drifting. Let's not try to take that away and say that, that's reckless. That's just as bad as driving drunk, isn't it?
But you don't want to, and though everyone will argue none of us were there, obviously that man was going at a speed that should not have been even thought about.
Yeah. But guys, that ending, chasing, that ending of signing off, saying bye to Paul Walker, was beautiful. It was just beautiful. Tell me about it. I mean, you didn't even really care for the movie itself, but tell me what you thought of that last 7 minutes, bro.
I honestly had no idea how they were going to end the chapter of Brian O'Connor and, well, more or less Paul Walker. And I've been watching movies for a really long time. And, maybe not long to someone who's been watching them longer, but I've seen a lot of movies in my day. And I've seen a lot of movies that have actors who've passed away that come out later. Or I've seen movies where bad things have happened. For instance, The Crow. I mean, a movie finished where an actor was killed. The main star was killed in the middle of making the movie. They can finish the movie without him. I've seen a lot of different things and read and done something like that, but I've never seen anything like what we saw yesterday. At least from what I can remember. I would love for someone to tell me and let me know that there is a movie out there that does something like that, but I highly doubt it. Again, James said it best. I wasn't a fan of the movie, but this isn't. What I really loved about it is that it didn't mix up character and actor, because, like James said, though we obviously know we're watching a movie, this ending is Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Michelle Rodriguez. This is real, and to see him playing on the beach with his child and letting us kind of soak up that moment of watching him be happy and smile in front of the sunset, and seeing his friends kind of look at him and maybe say what they would say or what they were feeling. I mean, I just imagine Juan saying, this would be your goodbye, just kind of letting a real natural thing go. I don't feel at all this was scripted. I could be wrong, but it felt very
I agree
natural.
with you.
I mean, besides obviously the action, I'm sure Dom Toretto getting up and not saying goodbye. I could believe that part is scripted, but it did feel very natural. It felt very real. And the emotion in the theater was electric, and not in like the positive energy way, but everybody in that theater, and again, I've talked about this many times, the reason why I love movies and going to the theater, I shared an emotion with over 200 strangers. And everyone at that time kind of just stopped talking. Everything else in the world just stopped being a parent. And we, for 2 minutes, I don't know the word to put it, but for those 2 minutes, we showed respect to this man's life. And I've never seen anything like that. So for that reason, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. One of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. The way that movie ended, where he shows up and they end up not racing, but driving together.
Yeah, it wasn't racing for sure.
Is one of the most touching, beautiful moments I can honestly say that I've ever really kind of seen on screen, just because of how real it was. They before this, or in between, I'm kind of lost in the timeline. While Vin Diesel is driving away, obviously not saying goodbye to Paul Walker, and maybe while they're driving, or I don't know if it's before or after, when they're showing the montage, James, do you remember?
It's like throughout.
Yeah. There's this great montage of Paul Walker, which a very similar version was released earlier this year on YouTube.
From Universal.
Showing this kind of growth of these characters to make it even more emotional.
Ugh, bastards.
And then, as James says, the road splits.
Ugh.
And we follow Paul Walker and get to see him literally drive into the sunset. And I'm not sure how and who, whose idea it was, or how that idea was constructed, if it was obviously, a group effort. I mean, obviously, all these people have to collaborate on it, but I'm not sure who kind of pitched the idea, or where the idea came from, or how much James Wan had a say in making that happen. But whatever it may be, or Universal, or even the group, if they allowed their friends to kind of choose out what ending, I think that was one of the coolest and most beautiful moments I think I've ever seen. And it was just so astonishing. I mean, obviously James got really emotional in our video, and you probably can hear him kind of get emotional now. And, Paul Walker, to be honest, wasn't a favorite actor of mine. I can't say, I mean, there was a few movies that I enjoyed him in, but at the end of the day, this is this was a living, breathing man, a real human. And that reminded us that he's not just a character. He's not just an actor, and I think the ending really portrayed that beautifully, that he was a human being, and his life should be honored and respected, and I thought that it was done the best way possible. And I think this movie, if anything, should be remembered for those 2 minutes.
I don't know if they would do this. Probably not, just because they wouldn't. But... Or do you want to throw anything else about these last 2 minutes? I'm sure we'll piggyback back.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll piggyback. Yeah, but I mean, I honestly just feel like it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And the feeling that was going through that theater was definitely powerful.
I would really enjoy it. Seriously. I'm not just saying this, guys. I would really enjoy it if in part 8, part 9, and for anyone who doesn't know, if you're like, well, would they do it? It's a business, guys. And this movie's going to hit $1 billion, and it would be financial suicide, especially considering Universal doesn't exactly have all these top movies that are killing it. They have Jurassic World this year. But anyway, my whole point is, in the next ones, I would love to see Hobbs centered more around Hobbs, because again, The Rock is on fire right now.
Yeah.
Rock he's about to be Shazam, Black Adam, Shazam, one of those two. People say it's going to be saying. Anyway, he's just on fire. So I would love to see a spin-off. You could still call it Furious 8 or whatever, and it's centered around, and I know Vin Diesel's not going anywhere, and I don't want him going anywhere. Vin Diesel, him, and Jason Statham, and, cameos, or maybe Vin Diesel calls Jordana from Mexico and says, hey, how you doing? I just want to say hi. Where's Paul? Or not Paul, where's Paul Walker's character? Brian, where's Brian? He's like, oh, he's playing with the kids, and maybe it's just the back of the brother or something, play with 2 kids. I don't know. I don't think they would ever do that. I'm just saying that I would love it if, we just saw that. I don't think it is, because I think that was the whole point of that last 2 minutes, is just send them off. We're not going to even talk about it again, because we love this guy. And like you said, how amazing is that? And I hate to get all, again, crazy on everyone, but how amazing is that in that 2 minutes, for those 2 minutes, at least in that theater, no one cared about racism. No one cared about how annoying some people are. No one cared about drama. Nobody cared about what's going on in their life. It was literally, and I'm serious, world peace in that room. That 2 minutes, we had peace. between everybody. I'll even be ballsy enough to say that after 5 minutes, after we're walking out of theater, no one's hating on anyone. No one's thinking negative about anyone. Everyone's just thinking, dang, I feel good. That's world peace right there. In those 2 minutes right there between 200 some odd people, that no one gave a crap about anything except for, let's just have respect for this guy. Ugh.
I completely agree. I think, it was just a really magic moment, and that's what movies do. And, the reason why I can't, as much as I've openly said I'm not a fan of this movie, I don't think anyone can take away what this movie did for a lot of people. I know a lot of people are emotionally connected or emotionally affected by it. And who am I to say that they can't be? As my job as a critic, I give my opinions on film, and I do my best to talk about movies that I feel like should be talked about, and so on and so forth. And I look very in depth into movies, but at the same time, I want everyone in the world to enjoy movies because I know what movies can do to somebody and how they could affect them. So if this movie is that movie that affected James, affected $1 billion worth of people, then that's nothing but good. I'm nothing but for that. So. Personally,
Chasing what you said though right there is so brilliant too. Actually, when this movie does $1 billion, that means they sold, I don't know, 100 million tickets, and you're affecting 100 million people to feel, at least for those 2 minutes, just like respect for people.
Yeah.
God, bro, thank you for that.
Well, thank you
for that.
I didn't mean that to be, but. To talk about now what happens next, I know we're getting on a kind of, we're going on quite longer than usual, but to talk about what happens next, in my opinion, I don't think it'll happen, obviously, because I still feel like this crew wants to be very heavily involved in what's going on. I personally would like to see the chapter close on the Tiranno crew and their family, and I would like, they could come in and out. We and James can talk about this. They could do cameos and stuff in the next 3 films, but I honestly feel like we should go on another direction now, because I think that this movie will still have the hype behind it. People want to see it, but my whole thing is you've brought possibly one of the greatest closings to a chapter of stories. Not, and again, it's tough because I can't say this is the greatest ending of a movie I've ever seen, just because it's not so much an ending for a movie as it was something different. It was something unlike I've ever seen, and I have to really emphasize that. But you've put that closure in that beautiful ending. I know everyone's happy. I know everyone in that story is good and safe and healthy. Except The Rock and Jason Statham. I was trying to think of his character's name. So let that be the story now, because you've closed that, and I don't care if you make 3 more movies or you make 12. No matter how far we get in the future, you will never, ever be able to tell us a closing like that again. You will never be able to just end something so perfectly. But I'm sure they'll all be a part of it, and I'm sure, I'm aiming for something different, but to me, you don't end that story in any other better way. So personally, I would think that it'd be smarter for them to change up the story and go with a different, scenario. And Mr. Hsu, what are you expecting out of 8, 9, and if there is 8, 9, and 10, which I'm sure there will be.
There's not even a fraction of a doubt to me we're at least going to get 3 more, because if you do $1 billion, even if the next one's a stinker, people still watch the next one after that. Yeah. And you'd have to do literally, with the momentum that they have from, you could say, go back to 4 to 5 to 6 and now 7. They have so much worldwide momentum for this film franchise. Guaranteed, even if the next 2 are stinky, we're going to get 3. Now, if all 3 are stinky, yeah, granted, it's done. But I don't think that. I think that, and I agree with you. I think they're going to still make it heavy centric around these characters. And for someone like me, bring it, man, because it's going to remind me of Paul, and I want that.
I don't know, and I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. But I will say, I hope everyone goes out and sees this movie. I could tell you I didn't like it, but I could still tell you that this movie's worth seeing just because of the ending, because it is something so different and cool. And it's a movie that I really recommend you see with an audience, because that's the moment. Those moments are the ones that I talk about on this podcast, and anyone that's ever talked to me about movies. There's moments in the theater where you'll share an emotion with a total stranger, and it is a very powerful moment. And me and James pretty much really talked heavily on that, and I hope you get to experience that. So go see it now. If you haven't seen it already, it's already Sunday or Monday. Go see it ASAP.
I mean, come on. We're not getting paid for you to watch it. We're not talking about this for as long as we have, because it's seriously this moment in this film, man, it is powerful, man. It
is seriously powerful, and there's no other way to describe it. Mr. Hsu, I thank you so much for joining me today to talk about this movie. If you've enjoyed listening to James, which I'm sure all of you have, because I enjoy listening to James as much as I can, I bother the hell out of him just so I could get his advice or talk to him about something, because he's just a blast. Make sure to follow him on Twitter and Instagram at ShuMJames. That's HSUM James. Again, that's HSUM James on Twitter and Instagram. You could also go on youtube.com and type in HSUM James, and you could find all of his videos and stuff like that. Sir, is there anything else you want to plug really quick?
If anything, I just want to plug you on a serious note. Obviously, if you're listening to this in some way, shape, or form, you're already a fan, or if you stumbled onto this video on YouTube, then you're already a fan. But I will tell you one thing, that in my professional career as a speaker, as a internet guy, my passion is speaking, and I've spoken to over 100,000 people. I've spoken at universities all across the United States on how to communicate with people. And I'll tell you one thing, guys, that when it comes to being an entrepreneur, when it comes to, in my book, I call it skill set, is chasingcinema.com, chasing on with us, Jake Tiranno. He knows movies, and he has a passion for movies, and he loves film. And there's a lot of people in life that do things for a paycheck. And there's a lot of people out there that they just do it because it pays them. Chasing genuinely loves the art of film. He understands film. And that's probably one of the reasons why I love learning from this guy and listening to this guy and working with this guy, is because this guy has a true passion for what he's doing. And that's a trait that not a lot of people have. You talk to most people that have jobs. I would say 95% of people who have jobs, they're only working there because they get paid. If they didn't get paid, they wouldn't work there no more. They wouldn't do what they do unless they got paid. This is the only reason why they're doing it. And for Chasing, this is his passion. He loves film, and it is just awesome to be able to understand from his POV, from his point of view, why he loves aspects of film and what film does. And it's an honor, brother.
Well, sir, I appreciate that. That was very nice of you. Very unscripted. I appreciate that. And if I could say the same about James, I've learned in the amount of time I've known him through Chasing Cinema since Battleship, our first time we ever met. I've done nothing but learn from this man. He has been one of the biggest supporters I've ever had in believing in what I do and helping me get my name out there and he does it because I really, like, he doesn't do it because of what he does, but he does. I could tell that he does it because he actually really cares and likes what I do. And to me, that makes it even more the better that he actually respects what I do. Obviously, you just heard him, and I thank him greatly for that. But honestly, follow this man on Twitter, follow this man on Instagram, and somehow connect yourself to this man as so many people already have. Like we talked about earlier, anywhere I go, someone knows James Hsu. A funny story, I just started working at an office, and someone said, I just got this email from this guy named James Hsu about Furious 7. I said, he goes, and I said, that's my partner, that's my buddy. And he was like, what? And it's just, anywhere I go, someone knows James. And that's really, really powerful. So do yourself a favor and connect to this man again on Twitter, on Instagram at HSUMJames. And you will learn something. I've seen him do amazing things. I've seen him be brilliant in a sense where he has done I've seen how he works and how he talks about things, and it amazes me, but I've also seen him do some incredible moving things. You could go and follow him on YouTube and stuff, and I'm sure you'll see it. I've seen him do incredible things for families and individuals, and I've also seen him, just hearing his words of motivation and really bring out the best in people. So for you, sir, I thank you for being awesome, doing what you do. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Before we go off, this movie was huge, and it's going to blow us all away. But shortly, in less than a month, there's going to be a movie that's probably going to do even more damage when we talk about box office, and that is the Avengers Age of Ultron. Me and Hsu will be there at the movies Thursday night, April 30th, or is it 31st? April 30th, I believe, Thursday. We will be there at AMC Town Square at midnight to celebrate that movie, and we want everyone to come. This is our personal invitation for you. James, where can they go to reserve tickets? What do they got to do to reserve their tickets so they can make sure that they're in our screening?
Honestly, you put it into Google, James Hsu, Las Vegas, Superman, anything like that, you're going to find all of my stuff, and everything's revolved around HSUMJames at Gmail, at Instagram, at everything. Find me, hit me up, because I know me and Chasing said it already, and we're sounding like a broken record player, but you can watch Furious 7 at home after it's on Blu-ray and watch that last 2-minute scene and may say, oh, that was nice. There's just a huge difference. You watch that scene with 200, 300, 400 people in a theater, it's completely different. You can't even compare it. So what I'm trying to say is this: Age of Ultron's going down, and it's gonna even blow out Fast 7, and it's the feeling when you have 250 of your friends screaming when Hulk is hitting the Iron Man Hulkbuster suit. When you see Chris Evans throw his shield in the air, and then Thor takes the hammer and hits the shield. The energy in that theater, I promise you, you will not be let down. It's going to be a madhouse. It will be chickens with their head cut off. After the movie, people are going to be screaming and yelling, just saying more, more, more.
And James Hsu and I will be there. So what better way to watch a movie? Make sure to follow him on Twitter. Tweet him that you want tickets. He'll take care of you from there. Again, that's at HSUMJames. Go follow now. Sir, thank you so much for coming on today. I really, really appreciate it. Talking about Furious 7. My name is Jacob Tiranno. That is James Hsu. And ladies and gentlemen, please continue chasing cinema.